Hello everybody, Rattenborough here, world traveler and presenter of animals, back for another exciting day of slide show and tell. Last time we classified or grouped animals based on if they were cold-blooded or warm-blooded. We, remember, are warm-blooded, just like the hippo, and we all have different characteristics, but some are still in common. We are vertebrates because we have backbones, just like Hilda the hippo. In animals without backbones, those are called invertebrates. So since we are vertebrates, we're going to talk about that first today. When you look just at the outside of an animal, you can't always see the backbone because the backbone is inside the animal under its skin. And you can even feel your own backbone or spine. If you can put your hands in the middle of your back and run them up and down, do you feel those bumpy bones? Each bump you feel is a separate vertebra. They form a row from your neck all the way down to your back to your tailbone. And your spine serves as a very important purpose. Your spine protects the spinal cord in your back, and that large bundle of nerves that sends messages from your brain to every part of your body. For today, let's take a glimpse at the backbone of 5 animal species to which my friends belong to. We've seen that a hippopotamus has a backbone. Next, let's take a look at one of Ebenezer's fellow ingrates. Its backbone or spinal column helps its head stay up, and also it helps it protect its spinal cord. Like Ebenezer, he could not live without a backbone. All birds have backbones or vertebrates. Now, let's look down here at our snake. Does it look like the snake has a vertebrae or a backbone or spine? It doesn't really look like it because we know that snakes can slither and slip and slide, but they do actually have backbones. A snake's vertebrae, like anaconda's, runs the length of its body and swings low to the ground as its muscles help move it around on the ground or climb up trees. A pair of ribs is attached to each vertebra, protecting the body parts inside the snake's body. All reptiles, like the snake, have backbones, so you can't always tell from the outside whether an animal is a vertebrate with a spine or whether it's an invertebrate, meaning that it doesn't have a spine. Now let's look up here at our fish. Would you say a fish has a backbone? The answer is yes. All fish have backbones too, just like reptiles, birds, and mammals. It's really hard to see, but if you were actually to take an X-ray of its body, you would see that all the tiny bones that make up the skeleton of the fish are connected to its spine. The piranha told me that even though all fish have backbones, some fish, like sharks and stingrays, actually have backbones that are made of a lighter type of cartilage that is very bendable, which kind of helps them move faster and makes them move more quickly and more flexible. So that leaves our amphibians. Let's take a look at my animal friends one more time, and let's pay close attention to Toad. He's right here in the middle. It's hard to tell when you look at Toad's body if there's a backbone inside. Do you think that the toad has a backbone? Yes, you're right, they do. They are vertebrates too. All amphibians have backbones. That means that all 5 of the animals you've seen today are vertebrates. They all have backbones. The question that I still have for you is, do you think all animals on Earth have backbones? We know mammals, which include hippopotamus, me, you, birds, fish, reptiles, and amphibians are all vertebrates too. But have we covered all the animal groups on Earth yet? You're right, we have not. So I'm not too sure if all animals are vertebrates. I think there still might be some that are invertebrates. Do you remember if there are more vertebrates or more invertebrates on Earth? Let's go back to this picture from our first lesson. There is 95.4% invertebrates. So we know that there are still animals out there that are invertebrates, but there's much more invertebrates than vertebrates. So a lot of those invertebrates that we just talked about, the animals that don't have a backbone, are actually insects. Think of how many insects there must be on our planet. No wonder insects are the most plentiful group of organisms that have ever lived. They make up 3/4 of all the species in the animal kingdom. Can you name a few of these animal insect groups that we see here? This one is a butterfly. There's a couple different types of butterflies. This down here is a ladybug. This looks like a wasp. Are there any others that you know that are familiar? Even though insects are by far the largest group of invertebrates, they are not the only invertebrates. Here's another question for you to think about. Close your eyes and pretend you're a taxonomist for a moment. Can you think of any other animals that you know without backbones? Here's a hint. Instead of an internal vertebrae, meaning that it has a spine in the back, have you ever seen animals that have external or outer hard body coverings? The largest group of invertebrates is made up of arthropods. Insects make up the largest group of arthropods. Another large group of arthropods include arachnids. Spiders are arachnids, and so are ticks, daddy longlegs, and scorpions. Insects have 6 legs and 3 body parts. The ant in this image has very long antennas. Let's try to find the ant. Point on your screen if you can find the ant, and let's see if it has very long antenna. Good. They almost look like egg or legs. In comparison, arachnids have 8 legs and 2 body parts. Instead of having flat, flexible internal skeletons, all of the arthropods wear a tough exoskeleton or protective covering on the outside. I bet you can recognize some of these common examples of insects and arachnids. And a crustacean is another kind of invertebrate and also a type of arthropod. Crustaceans have exoskeletons and usually live in water. The copepods are the smallest of the crustaceans. They are barely visible, but they are a very important source of food for fish in the ocean. Can anyone think of other animals that are classified as crustaceans? Look at some of these pictures and they might be able to help you. Some of the common crustaceans include shrimp, lobsters, fiddler crabs, and blue crabs. These animals all have a hard exoskeleton which protects the body and keeps it from drying out. Have you ever seen a crab? If you eat a blue crab like this one or a lobster, you have to remove its hard exoskeleton to find the tasty meat inside. Here are some other animals that are invertebrates. I'm sure these are very common. This we know is a snail. This we know is a jellyfish. An earthworm. We can find a lot of these out in our backyard after it rains. We know this is coral. This is something you'd find at the bottom of the ocean. This right here is some type of sea animal. And over here is a sea star. These are pretty common, but they have the far largest group of animals populating the earth, these vertebrates, or invertebrates, excuse me. Look at all these different ways to classify animals. In order to study living things, taxonomists classify each organism according to its kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. The purpose of this classification system is to understand each organism better by the characteristics that make it unique. Vertebrates and invertebrates are 2 types of animal in the world of taxonomy. It is just one way to classify animals, but I think it's a very helpful way, don't you? Look at this chart that shows how a group of similar organisms are related to each other. On the top row, you can see a group of living organisms. We have a house cat, a mountain lion, we have a tiger, we have a seal. This is a turtle, a grasshopper, and a tree. And then we go down to the next column, which is the kingdom. And in there, you can see that the tree actually belongs to a different kingdom, because you can see that all the other animals move down to kingdom except for the tree. This row now shows only organisms that are part of the animal kingdom right here. These are all animals, and obviously the tree would not fit under that. In the next row, titled Phylum, the grasshopper is no longer included. All the rest of the animals represented here are vertebrates, part of the Chordata phylum. Okay. And now, if we look down at the class, what animal do you notice is no longer there? You're right, the turtle, because the turtle is in the reptile class, and all the other animals shown are mammals. Now we're going to go down to order. The mouse is the animal not included in this one, and because it is not a carnivore like the other animals shown. So these animals right here all eat meat, but the mouse does not. What's true about all the animals in the next row here that you see in family? You're right, they're all different types of cats. Now let's look down here at the genus row. You can see that the house cat and the mountain lion are more closely related than the tiger is to these two animals. And the very last row represents one specific animal, and that's a house cat. So this process of starting out with many animals and ending up with just one is called the process of elimination, because it's eliminating animals as it gets more specific. As we went down the list, we eliminated or removed any animal that no longer had anything in common. The next time we get together, I will be showing you slides of fish, from tiny goldfish to gigantic sharks, and teaching about how scientists classify them according to their different characteristics. You already know that fish are cold-blooded vertebrates. Be thinking about some other characteristics that you know about how to classify fish. See you next time.